Hey everybody, this is Steve X bringing you my average gamer review of the 2013 release of Gears of War Judgment. So first
Hey
off, a little bit
everybody, this
about
is Steve X
about me,
bringing
my
you my
background.
second edition
I
of
am
Let's
a
Play
midlife
series.
crisis, middle age, late 30s gamer. I pretty much play Call of Duty, Black Ops 2 right now. Primarily that a couple times a week with my friends, but from time to time I like to mix it up and play some other games as well. I like games that have big, massive stories, great graphics and realism, and basically something that's interesting and brings you good story to the mix. Some of my favorite games are like the Mass Effect franchise, Gears of War. I like Halo. It's okay. Uncharted, God of War, things like that. Something that brings some originality and good stories to the table. So that'll give you a little bit of background and what I am thinking as we do this review. So let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, quick synopsis. So basically this is a prequel to Gears of War 1 and basically the Gears of War series by showing Baird and how he, through a series of
We're
decisions
watching is I just
and
put in the
actions,
disc
basically
for
got
Gears of War
demoted
Judgment.
from a lieutenant to a
Wait
private,
a few minutes
and that's
looks like
ultimately
one
how he
failures.
ended up on Marcus Phoenix's
Because it plays that
team
automatically.
and not in charge of it.
Here we go, let's go
So
ahead and
basically,
get
you're
started.
watching that story,
Coming right out the
and
gate here.
overall, I would
Already
give
got the
that
update
story,
date
if I
on
were
it.
to rate it, pretty much like a 7. It feels
Sure,
it
it's
feels
gonna
kind of lazy, and if I can make a little political commentary on that, uh, basically Cliff Bleszinski, who was the creative director of Gears of War, he left probably about a year ago. He left Epic Studios, and Gears of War was his baby, and basically you can see that driving force behind the game just isn't really there anymore. I would say overall I was somewhat a little disappointed with the game. So the story itself, I'd give like a 7.
Wow, really?
It's
That guy's not
very
even just for watching the
predictable
teaser?
where it's going. The storyline with him being on trial and the commanding officer just being a little just
And one
comical
thing
as
the Gears of War
far as
franchise has always
how
been
he
really good
doesn't
at is their
care for
cinematics.
these insubordinate people.
I like the styling
It's
of
it's
the
just kind of seems
machines, the
overplayed.
equipment
There
they
was nothing
have.
original in it, and
They did a
even
really
the
good job
story,
creating
the actions,
similar
animations,
universe.
movements, everything. It just felt like they take the same Gears of War, the same Unreal Engine that they used for Gears of War, and just slapped it into another title and just cranked it out in order to milk a little more money out of the franchise. That's
There's
pretty much
Cole
what it
on
felt
the
like.
left.
So story itself, I'd give it a 7. Along those lines, if we looked at
Two new
graphics and I had to
characters.
rate those, I'd say graphics are probably about
So
an
for those
8.
that know, Judgment
Gears
is
of
a
War using the
prequel to
Unreal
the
Engine
Gears
has
of
always
War
been one of their
original.
standout games. That's their flagship game, but there's nothing really new in here. It feels like the same Unreal Engine 3
So this happens before
that they
Gears
used
of
in
War
Gears of
1.
War 2 and 3. I didn't really see much difference. Even the
So there's a
backgrounds,
sub-story
textures,
in
everything.
Gears of War
Really,
that
pretty much, it felt
Barrett
like
wasn't
Gears of
taking
War
command
2.
of
And if
that
anything, I
squad
would say I
because
like
of
Gears
some
of War
trouble he
2
got
a
into
lot
earlier,
better.
and apparently this is the
So
story.
graphics, I'd say they're pretty good. I want to say a 7.5 to 8. They're pretty good, but there's just nothing blowing me away on this here. So that's where that is. If we look at sound, sound is pretty good. I'd give it an 8. As far as games go, directionality is pretty good. Voice acting is okay,
Apparently they're
but
not
I
happy with it.
primarily blame the writing. I think the voice acting did good. It was the writing that was a little off. So I'd say sound is an 8. Directionality is good. Voice acting is good. So let's just leave that where it is. And then if we look at replayability, so replayability itself, probably a 7.5. The Gears of War franchise always comes
far,
with a
cinematic
very
graphics
popular
are
multiplayer. But from what I
decent.
can see, there's maybe one additional game type.
Visual
If you've
expressions,
played,
movement's good,
say, Gears of
not
War
tough at
3,
all.
let's just assume you're playing Gears of War 3,
Quality of
you'll
graphics
see
is
maybe
not
one
blowing
additional
me
game
away.
type on there. But overall, you're not really getting much more out of it. It's looks like the same engines that are running it, and I don't really see anything new in here. But because it does have it, and it's got the Horde and the other game types that you know and love on the Gears of War multiplayer, it'll probably have some good staying power there. So that's probably about a 7.5, which I feel like I'm being generous giving that. So overall, my final comments on this are the story itself is really lacking. It really feels like they've lost some directionality, some direction with the story, and I kind of attribute that myself to Cliff Bleszinski leaving Epic. But about the only thing that's redeeming on this is once you've played the story, which is called Judgment in the main menu, then once you get so many points, you unlock something that's called Aftermath. Now, Aftermath is actually a tack on to Gears of War 3 storyline. So once you're done with the game, and honestly, I played through it and it got to the end and I thought, wow, really? I'm done? That was okay. I was expecting some more twists and maybe some other development. It pretty much just went through and ended where you thought it would end. So once you finish that, then there's another thing called Aftermath, and that puts you in Gears of War 3. Now, if you're familiar with that storyline, it's the time where Marcus Phoenix and everyone are on the sub, and they're going to the island at the end, and basically Baird and Cole are off trying to secure ships and everything. So this is the story of Baird and Cole and their team trying to get a ship and meet up with Marcus. So that was kind of interesting to have that. It was actually a welcome surprise that was in there, and that actually felt like I got a little bit more out of the game. So I was glad that was in there. But overall, the game itself, I don't know if I'd really recommend it. If you're a huge fan of Gears of War, I'd say maybe rent it and play it. It's worth playing to go through it, but really, it just didn't have the staying power there. And even the levels themselves, when you're playing, they added a new component to it that gives it really arcade-like feel. So for every battle you're about to go into, there's a little emblem on a wall you can go into and say, and it gives you a challenge like, okay, complete this whole round within 4 minutes, or you die. Or you can only use cleavers for this round, or you can only use boom shots, something like that. It's a little interesting at first, but really it gives it kind of an arcadey, cheap feel to it. So I don't know. It wasn't like just a challenge that you know is there and you could try. It's right there in the game, just throwing it in your face to have this arcade experience while you're playing it. So overall, I'd say this really kind of a checkpoint, just kind of a half-assed feel to it, how it was put together. I don't think it lives up to the Gears of War name. I've played Gears of War 1, 2, and 3 actually twice all the way through, and I gotta say I absolutely love the franchise. The storyline is great. The graphics and playability and everything has always been just at the top end of what you'd expect from an Xbox 360 game. And this just does not live up to it. So that's my review. If you agree or disagree, of course, please leave your comments in the comments below. But so that's how I feel. That's my average gamer review. So let me know what you think. And as always, good hunting.
Wretches.